Hi everyone, welcome back to Box of Delights and welcome to this demonstration of the Elder Scrolls Betrayal, the Second Era. This is a prototype and the poor old box has suffered a little bit of damage because it's been through the wars. This is a heavy old box full of contents. Today, I want to give you a demonstration of how this game plays. I'm not going to be doing a full campaign scenario because just one game through of this is going to take about 6 hours, so that's a bit too much for me to do in one video. But I want to give you a demonstration of the gameplay and give you an overview of how this thing plays. This is a production sample that Chip Theory Games have sent me. A whole bunch of other people have done playthroughs of this game, so if you want to go and watch some full campaigns, actually I'll put some links for you to go and enjoy those. What I wanted to do is kind of give you a little bit of a close-up look of the game, how it plays, what's it all about. All right. So this is currently, its crowdfunding campaign is complete. You can still pre-order. I think the time of recording, I think the backer kits are still open, so people can still, the pledge manager, whatever you call it, people can still add stuff to their pledges and so on. But I mean, this is not a sponsored video. I don't get paid to do any of my videos. This is just purely me sharing the love of board gaming with you guys. All right, I'm going to go and get set up and let's begin a little adventure. The game plays 1 to 4, so I'm going to be playing solo, but because it's a co-op game, you can play multiple players solo if you want to. It might be a lot to manage, but it can be played pure solo with just one character. This is the back of the box, by the way. It's based on a popular video game franchise, The Elder Scrolls. You've probably heard of it. I remember back in the day playing Morrowind for the first time, and then I think Oblivion came next, and then Skyrim. Set in the world of Tamriel. It tells us it's an adventure strategy game of combat and character building. It's campaign based. We'll be developing our characters and exploring the provinces of Tamriel. We'll be completing lots of different quests. And this really is, from Chip Theory Games, a bit of a cross between Too Many Bones and Hoplomachus Victorum, with a significance on character building and campaign play. There's a few things we're going to need: skill reference and rulebook. Set those aside. We have a gazetteer for each region that we can explore. Elder Scrolls is not just one location, it's many locations. So there's the Western Black Marsh, High Rock, Cyrodiil, Skyrim, and Morrowind. And for sentimental reasons, because it was where I learnt the world, I'm going to start off in Morrowind. So we're not going to need these for now. Actually, when you play a campaign, you're going to cross multiple worlds. So although I may start in Morrowind, I have an opportunity to move into other regions as the game progresses. These are the different maps. So there's Eastern Skyrim, Western Skyrim, Cyrodiil here. A double-sided, you see. High Rock. And here we have Morrowind on the reverse Black Marsh. So we're going to start off in Morrowind, and the gazetteer tells us, if we look in here, so this is like every location on the map has a page in this book. So as we explore, we're going to turn to the page and find which shops are open, which guilds are open, what happens in each of these different locations. There's a little bit of story. Okay, so lots of exploring going on. Now it tells us that in Morrowind there's some specific instructions for this map. We'll come to that in a little bit, but every region has its own kind of rules. For Morrowind, we're looking for the wood elf Deslandra, who's been searching for some artifacts buried beneath Morrowind. The more artifacts she finds, the stronger she gets. So Deslandra is kind of like a foe that we've got to take down. and do so before she gets too strong. So there's these tracks up here that keep a record of how many artifacts she's finding. Every map has its own little track. So Black Marsh has got a weather track. So weather is more important in Black Marsh, and it controls how far we can travel each turn. So there's going to be plenty of variability for us in this game. I'm going to set up 2 characters for you just to show you how you might play this 2-player, like I say, either solo or with a friend. And the benefit of 2 characters is that you can balance their skills and they can help one another. Where you're weak in one area, your ally might be stronger, that kind of stuff. We're going to set up some enemy bags as well, and skill bags. So these here are called skill line tokens. These are things that we can train in. So these are going to go in this bag. We're probably going to need a few of these before we get started, because we start with some skill lines, and these are things that we're strong in. So it might be like if we decide to be an archer, or maybe a spellcaster, that kind of stuff. Right? So different types of skills that we can learn, and as we go to these different towns, we can train up in those. Each character is going to need a set of these tokens, and these are generic tokens. They're called overland tokens that mark things like objectives and our current location in the map. We'll come back to that in a bit. We also want to set up some enemy bags. We've got enemies that are level 1 and 5, enemies that are level 10 and 20. So the 10 and 20s, they're actually double-sided, 10 on one side, 20 on the other. Same for the 5s and 1s and 5s. These go into these bags, so we're going to be pulling random enemies. Some enemies are only specific to their region. So if we look at this Mire-Gaunt here, we can see that it's got BM written in these letters here, just above Enfeeble. That means we'll only find the Mire-Gaunt in the Black Marsh. So its flip side, Wamasu in Black Marsh. The Orc Warlord only in High Rock. Okay. And then we've got a Briarheart here, or a Reachman only in Skyrim. All right, so look out for that when you're setting up your enemy bags. If they have a pair of letters here, that's only for that region. All right, so we've taken those out and we'll set them aside. There is also a tutorial booklet. We're not going to need that today, but the tutorial, it kind of starts like the video games where they give you this jailbreak scenario. And with the jailbreak scenario, you begin as a non-specific character, you break out of jail, and then you meet someone who's going to help set your motivations, if you like, and that determines your class and the types of skills you'll want to pursue. But we're not doing this tutorial. Right, we're going to just freely choose. And we have a whole bunch of characters we can choose from. There's a whole bunch of races we can choose first. So that's what our first task is. Choose your race. If we chose High Elf, there's 4 different images to choose from. But if you're playing 2-player, both of you could be High Elf, but no more than 2 people could be High Elves, because there's only 2. And once you choose a character, you can choose which side, but the stats are the same. Okay, just 4 different representations of a High Elf. Make sense? All right, so we've got High Elf, we've got Red Guard, Orc, and each one Imperial. Each one is going to be good or bad at different things. And that's why I say it's nice to be able to play more than one character. You see. So I think I might play. Who should we play? Quite like the idea of being a Khajiit. Nice. Maybe a Breton as well. Should we do that? Yeah, why not? But like I say, it doesn't really matter which image you take. All right. Okay, there we go. A Breton is strong in magic, and the Khajiit is strong in stamina. Better in combat, so pretty good in combat, but nice broad set of stats here. find the character chips that represent them. And copy their stats onto your character mats here. So health 4 for the Khajiits. We've got a stamina token, magicka, and combat. Now what you'll notice is on these mats, let's have a look at the Khajiit first, is that, let's do it this way, that each one of these little skill line tokens here goes in a slot. So let's say we put our health up here. Okay, 4. Each skill line has 2 ends. Right? There's one that moves from left to right, and then we can use the same line but move from right to left. So let's say we put our stamina here. Our stamina here is 3. And we've got these little gemstones here. These are our stat tokens. So for 3 stamina, we'll take 3 of these stat tokens and put them in here like so. That's stamina 3. And then for our magicka, we've got 2. Now we can choose to place magicka on a separate line, or maybe we'll choose to put it on the same line. And what that means is, if let's say we put it on the same line, 2. As we progress in the game, we might want to train our stamina up higher. If we put magicka here, we won't be able to put our stamina any higher than 4. Okay. Now you can untrain things, so we could reduce our magicka and replace it with stamina, but now our magicka is less, but our magicka is only 1. Okay. So when you're setting up your character, you've got to think about which traits you want to focus on, which ones will be offset against each other. Now you may say, well, you've only got 4 skills, Ricky. Why are you worried about that? Well, because you can learn new skills as the game goes on. So you've got space for 8 in total. These are our 4. We could put them in 4 separate ones, but actually I'm going to put magic and combat opposite each other because I don't want to be strong in both. So we've got 2 magic, we've got 3 stamina, and we've got 2 combat. For health, we start at 4 and we just use that marker. If we want to go up to 5, we then start putting these tokens in 4, 5, 6, like so. Do you see? For combat, well, combat's 2. There aren't any stat tokens to represent combat, but instead we use combat dice. So we've got 2 combat dice. So let's pop those in there. All right. So there we go. Now we've got a cooldown stat as well of 2. So I'm going to take one of these little pegs, and the cooldown goes here like so. So it's cooldown of 2. All right. These other pegs go in your mats in these various places. So there's one here, there's one up here, and one up here. Doesn't matter where you put it for the start of the game. All right. So there we go. That's the Khajiit setup. I'll do the same for the Breton. And then for the start of the game, we get to choose one other skill line. And the skill lines we've got to choose from are these. There's a whole bunch. There's multiple cards for each because some people might want to have the same skill line. Each one of these represents a whole bunch of dice, okay? Kind of like in Too Many Bones, right? With dice skills. So combat is a dice skill. So we're going to need one of those for each of our characters. And then choose some skills. Now for my Khajiit, I might just take bow. I think that's a nice skill to take. And for the Breton, who likes doing magic, I'm going to take destruction staff. Right. We've got a whole bunch of skills to choose from. Remember I put those skills in that bag. That's for each one of these. We'll learn new skills as the game goes on and develop our characters. Now for your starting skill line, you need to find the relevant skill dice. And you start with 2 dice, level 1. Right? So every skill has different levels of dice. We've got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 for the bow. And here's 2 number of trays of dice. These are the level 1 dice. We have 1 in this corner here. Right? So 2 level 1 dice. And the same staff dice, 2 level 1s for the Breton, and then find the relevant tokens from the skill bag. Okay, you know which ones they are because they match this icon here. Bow and destruction staff. Okay, now these will then go on your character mat in the same way as your starting stats. And again, you can choose to place them wherever you wish. So Kajit's going to place his bow here in the 2 dice. And do you know what? I'm actually going to move this. I'm going to place this here and place this here. I think we'll do that. Okay. All right. Okay, brilliant. You can keep all your relevant reference cards to one side. Last thing we do now is choose a class. There's 15 different classes to choose from, and you're going to look for things that kind of match the types of skills that you're interested in developing. Note that there's a novice side and a master side. You want to start with the novice side. Okay, well, I think I'm going to have the Breton be a warden, and I think the Khajiit be an archer. I think we'll focus on bows and archery. That sounds like a good thing to do. Yeah, all right, okay, there we go. So that's our class chosen as well. Like I say, in the jailbreak introduction encounter, this will be assigned to you depending on how you perform. Now these skill line reference sheets, we're going to place them in this card tray, which has all the different cards we need for the game, because we're going to learn new skills potentially as the game goes on. We've got common items, legendary items. We've got 2 overland decks. This is the peaceful deck, and this is the conflict deck, and each deck is going to be kind of region specific. There's some generic ones which you always use, and then these are the MW Morrowind ones specific. Remember, we've chosen the Morrowind province. Same for this deck here. We've got a delve deck down here, which is when we go down diving into dungeons. These will tell you kind of which rooms, which caverns and so on will appear. We've got side quests. So we've got a mainline kind of main mission, and then we've got side quests that we can go on as well. And obviously our skills. All right, so look out for those. We'll learn more about the details as we get going in the game. All right. Now, to set this off and running, we've got 9 guild cards. We're going to give these a little shuffle. We're going to draw 3 and choose 1. And this determines which guild we are going to be contracted with. Okay. Right, the rest can go back in the box. And this kind of sets the tone and says what's our mainline quest going to be. So we've broken out of jail, we've chosen our class, what type of adventurers we want to be. Now we've been approached by the master of a guild who's going to recruit us to go off and complete a quest. Now I like this because it gives us a little bit of choice, but limited. So every adventure we play is going to be slightly different. So we can go and join the Dark Brotherhood, the Thieves Guild, or the Outer Watch. Well, I think I'm going to choose the Dark Brotherhood. So this is going to be our quest. That tells us that we're a guild of zealous assassins, amoral professionals who will take on any contract if the correct rites are enacted. Members of the Dark Brotherhood are accountable only to themselves, their strict bylaws, and their dark god, Sithis. It tells us our party usually focuses on eliminating specific targets. This can take the form of a unique battle or non-combat actions. All right, so it gives us a little bit of flavour about the types of things we might want to do. Different guilds will have different focuses. All right, so we've joined the Dark Brotherhood. One last little bit of setup before we get going. We're going to start on day 1. This is a day counter, and we start with experience 2, always with 2. You kind of start on day 0 as it goes, but there we go. First day of the game. The last thing we'll think about doing is setting our difficulty level. There's 3 difficulty levels. The book tells us apprentice, adept, or expert. We're going to start on apprentice. Why not? It kind of determines how much kind of health, how much you recover between turns every day, how fatigued we become, how quickly we heal back up. Okay, now we're going to need our gazetteer. Remember, we're in Morrowind. And there's a couple of tracks we do need to set up before we get going. Dig and excavation are set to 0. And now we're ready to go. So we're back in the gazetteer. We are playing the guild quest for the Dark Brotherhood. So you find the A. So if you look in the gazetteer, you've got all the towns. And then you'll find a section with all the quest informations. Right? And sections A, B, C, and D, and so on. So there'll be 9 A's, 1 for each of the guilds. Okay. We're looking for the Dark Brotherhood, and there it is, A12. You're contacted by Hides the Ashes, an Argonian member of the Dark Brotherhood, in on special business from Black Marsh. The Black Sacrament has given us a new target, she says. Dark elf thief by the name of Xeric, been stirring up much trouble as of late in Skyrim and Black Marsh. We've word he's fled here and has sought refuge with, she spits, the Morag Tong. You nod knowingly. No petty crook could run through half of Tamriel and end up with the Morag Tong without a powerful sponsor, and the Dark Brotherhood would have a strong interest in depriving its rival guild of the prestige and coin that come with a high-profile reward. The job is simple, Hides the Ashes continues. Figure out where this Xeric is holed up and eliminate him. Avoid the Morag Tong, who would kill you to protect him. I trust you can work out the details. Now, there is a little session snapshot here that just gives you a brief overview of what it is you're trying to do. And you can look at this when you're considering which guild you wish to go with, if you wish. The session snapshot here says, seek out assassins before participating in a final delve. Excavations trigger escalating negative effects when the final quest enemy is revealed. Our starting location is Necrom, and there are some special setup instructions. It says, shuffle the number of players plus 1 regular items into the Peaceful Overland deck. Okay, so, and it says to designate a set-aside area to place the cards that will make up the Morag Tong presence stack. Set aside quest units, the Morag Tong Assassin, and Xeric. Quest units are white tokens. Right, these ones. So here's Morag Tong Assassin, and here is Xeric. Right, so there's black ones, white ones never go in the bags, all right? They're the, not during setup, they're the set aside ones. We also set aside some delve cards. We always set these aside for Morrowind. It's the Dark Elf Patrol. Okay, so there are dark elves, and this Xeric is a dark elf. There are dark elves patrolling Morrowind. And it says, so we got 2 players, right? Although I'm playing solo, I'm playing with 2 characters, 2 plus 1 regular items into the Peaceful Overland deck. So there's a set aside. This is the Peaceful Overland deck. So we want 3 regular items, 1, 2, 3. Shuffle them in. Now these just act kind of like little markers. The items themselves don't matter. They're just markers for scaling up our final boss. Right, so what's the objective of the game? Well, we've kind of been given a hint, right? We've been told what we need to do. Set these aside. Travel, it says quest objective. Travel to any town other than Necron. So Necron's going to be our starting town, and complete a town encounter. We've got 12 days. Remember our day counter? This only goes up to 12. We've got 12 days to do this, and it recommends we complete this first quest objective by day 3. But we don't have to. We could take longer, but it's given us an idea about how much time we need for the whole thing. This whole scenario is going to be a series of quests, and this is going to be the first scenario. Then there's going to be a second and a third scenario in the whole campaign. Here's Necron, so we're going to place our starting party here. Travel to any town, it says, by day 3. Well, there's a town right here, so that's probably where we're heading. We could go up this way, but the closest town seems to be a fair choice. There's Vivek City up here. There's further towns further abroad. Right, but we're going to learn how to travel. We're going to learn about these digs and excavations. There's a special dig site down here, for example. There's another up here. Dig sites are unique to Morrowind. Right, well there we are. So the game from here is going to be split into these different phases. We're going to be using our token here, our overland token, to move around the map. We're going to use the gazetteer when we get to towns. And we're going to be having encounters at these other various locations. So it's a little bit similar to Victorum in this respect. Right. Now there are ongoing effects and rules that we need to be aware of. It says here, for example, at the end of each town encounter for this quest, at the end of each town encounter, for each adventurer that took 2 or more actions, we've got 2 adventurers, remember, add a regular item to the peaceful overland deck and then shuffle this deck. So that means we're more likely to draw one of these items from the deck. And it says when an item is drawn, place it in the Morag Tong presence stack. So Morag Tong is going to be powering up based on how many of these cards are getting drawn. They're only used for quest tracking purposes and cannot be used by adventurers. And then when we complete this quest, so go to a town and take 2 encounters, we go to B13 and then the quest continues. Right, we'll probably get a new instruction about what to do next. It's exciting stuff. All right, we ready? Join me next time as our adventure begins.